Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday, December 9th, 2024 Pittsburgh Board of Public Education Budget Public Hearing. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone remembers how this process works. Ms. Gandy will be our moderator for tonight. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and there's only one speaker per registered number. You're not allowed to share your time with any other speakers. Speakers will be called one at a time, and as your time begins to wind down, the light will begin to blink on the microphone, signifying that there are 30 seconds left. Those who are not able to be here in person were able to submit their written testimony that will be attached to the public record when it is put on our website tomorrow. Our stakeholders can view the public hearing by clicking the link at the top of the district homepage. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Erica Gandy.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And our first speaker this evening is Ms. Lauren Stuperis. Lauren Stuperis. We'll go to the next speaker. Our next speaker tonight is Gada Makoshi.
All right, dear school board members and Dr. Walters, this year you conclude with another surplus despite earlier predictions of significant deficits. These repeated forecasting inaccuracies have led to reactionary decisions, such as the proposal to close schools, a move that would not have saved money as later admitted, and lacked community support. Then, to make matters worse, public hearings were changed to in-person only, which excluded many families, particularly mothers, those working multiple jobs, and those reliant on public transportation. This approach intentionally undermines meaningful community involvement. While the decision for public hearings to be in person was made by Jean, any board member could have challenged it and called for a vote. To date, no one has. The forecasted deficit also led to the termination of the Boost program, which had proven successful for children who participated. The program itself was not the issue. Rather, poor communication and registration processes limited access. Boost was not only beneficial, but also provided an inclusive setting for ESY, integrating children with disabilities alongside their peers. Despite increased enrollment and a surplus, there has been no effort to reconsider this decision or acknowledge the program's value. I am deeply disappointed by the lack of advocacy from both the school board and administration. Prioritizing harmony over action does not serve our children. I urge you to speak up for them publicly and decisively. Leave a legacy of fighting for their future, not against it.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker tonight is April Kosora. Again, April Kosora. We'll keep moving. Our next speaker is Valerie Webb-Allman.
Hello. I know we have a long night ahead of us, so I'll be brief. So the only thing that's a little bit more ridiculous than me up here in my hat is the fact that I've been coming here for the better part of 13 years saying the same things over and over again with much of the same result. But it's important. So we have some major changes coming up over these next few years. We know that it's going to happen. And like Gada said, a lot of the time over these last 13 years that I've been coming out speaking on the budget is that we are projecting a major deficit, and we do these reactionary kind of protective measures to save the school district. But what ends up happening is it isn't actually preventing us from these major cuts down the road. What ends up happening is the most vulnerable students and communities are the ones that feel the cuts the most. So one of the things that we really need to prioritize when it comes to this budget is we have to do things differently. We can't keep kicking the can. We can't keep doing the same things and expecting different results. So making cuts to like our community schools program, making cuts to the Boost program, over investing in criminalizing tactics, and not investing in the methods and the policies and the people that actually help these kids and these communities, especially our most vulnerable ones, are what puts us in the position where we aren't meeting the needs of our students. And that's what actually lasts in people's minds. It's not that you spent $200,000 on a consultant. It's not that you did this or that or the other. What they see is what they're experiencing. And that's why they leave. Now, we have other things that we've talked about, at length when it comes to what's going on with the school district, but what we really need to focus on, I know we're not closing any for this coming up school year, but we need to actually start making the changes with where we prioritize our spending now. So that way, that's the lasting memory that people has when it comes to these changes that we're going to be making, which we also have to make sure we're spending money right to do it right, okay? So cutting the boost program is a mistake. It's we need to wait for the report to see how that impact is, but then make the changes that we need to, because our most vulnerable students are the ones that actually take advantage of Boost. And community schools has the largest impact on our communities. Those are the people we need to retain. Those are the people we need to hold close. And it's also the people that we should be focusing on when it comes to how we spend our money. So we need to do this budget right. And I'm not gonna keep on, saying the same thing over and over again, because you guys have heard it, you're gonna hear it some more. But take care of the people, take care of our kids, actually spend the money the way that we should. And then this.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Sarah Zango.
Hi, everyone. Happy holidays, and sorry I couldn't wear the hat, Mass Paulette. I was like dying over there, sorry. I just wanted to first of all say thank you very much for taking a pause, taking a breath, figuring out how we're gonna go forward. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I wanted to call attention, Mr. Walker said at the end of the Finance Committee meeting last week, I think it was, there's only so much that the board can control. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There are line items that are completely out of your control. There are line items that are out of, the city's control or the administration's control, all of that. You are absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that to the surface and explaining that. But I believe that we have a moment in history here. I have not been involved in PPS in a substantial way for very long. I have been reading about history for way long back, and it seems like we've had a tumultuous history of boards not getting along and city not cooperating and things like that. That's not where we're standing right now. We're gonna make changes, and we know that that's happening in the next couple of years, but we have a board that gets along with our administration, and we're starting to talk to the city again, and the county's starting to perk up a little bit, and you have our attention as parents. You have us, you have the community, we are investing a lot of time. This is a moment and opportunity that we can seize. And so in terms of budget, in terms of line items, in terms of things that we can change, this is not a one entity lift. It's not. The city can't do it alone. The administration can't do it alone, the board can't do it alone. We all have to do it together, and this is the time, this is the opportunity. Like, we can feel it. You guys know it, we know it, we can do it. We just have to think about how we're gonna do it. And so to change those line items, to change the things that we care about, to change the charter school going up drastically, change transportation, those sorts of line items can be changed by the way that we're thinking about our education in Pittsburgh and how to retain families. The demographics are insane. So from 5 to 17, we lose people. Then they move back to the city, or we attract them again between 18 to 35, and then they move again, 35 to 50. And then they come back again. People wanna be in this city. This is a livable city, y'all. We all know that, and we all love it. Let's just make it so that these choices are easier for parents and for students to make, right? Like, let's make sure that we are retaining the choice, driving equity, bringing everybody along with us, and making sense of this. This is a way to do this. We have a way to do this differently, and we have a way to change our budget in the future by retaining families, regaining this attrition. No matter what your intentions are behind this, if you keep doing the same thing, you're gonna get the same result. And this is what we've done 3, 4, 5 times in the past, right? We've said we have more buildings than we need.
Thank you for your testimony. And our next speaker is Vanessa DeGavere.
Hello. I wanted to recognize the first increase in enrollment since 1997. I imagine that number would be much higher without the uncertainty of the past year, but let's acknowledge this and aim to continue the growth. Projecting debt and then having a surplus seems to be a common practice for PPS, and this does not breed trust. There was a baby boom during COVID, and these kids are getting ready for pre-K and kindergarten, and I hope that PPS is investing in effective, positive ways to engage with these potential families. Budgets seem to very top-heavy at the administrative level instead of investing in special education, ESL, and community schools. Sorry, can't read my writing. On a final note, I also found that the flyer that PPS sent out was a little strange because I don't even know why they would mention ERS because they have long since packed up and left. If Dr. Walters chooses to use the deeply flawed discriminatory plan of divestment, then that is the plan of PPS and that is your plan, but ERS is gone. And the ownership is on you. And I also hope that you would bring back the online option. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we will have Ms. Paulette Foster.
As we come to the end of 2024, this year has been a roller coaster ride, and I don't like roller coasters. When PPS had their scenario feedback for the community to share their concerns, at no time was special schools mentioned in the process of needing parent input. However, at Alderdice High School, I was very clear of the importance of remembering students who receive special education services and always consider them first when creating any type of school move and financial planning budget. I am aware that they have a separate budget. However, when it comes to their everyday learning, they should be the forerunners of everything that you come up with. At the November public hearing, it was made very clear that the district's central office and the board of directors needed to pay close attention to these students. These parents from Conroy are the voices of their children. And there were several students who shared the importance of keeping their school on the north side and to support staff with them as well. The students are comfortable, safe, familiar. And that's the same with Pioneer, which are two different working groups of students. They don't want to change their school, and they understand the reason it's a community, and I understand the reason it's a community of learning that keeps them safe, prepares them for what's next in the future. These students represent my life work. My oldest sister, her husband, and her oldest daughter graduated from Conroy. So my life has been involved with people with exceptionalities. Now the school budget, we want to always reflect inclusive practices. However, Dr. Walters is choosing to dismantle the Summer Boost program, which is a place where many students who receive ESY are able to go into the summer program at no cost and have opportunities to flourish with their general ed peers. The school boards need to ask Dr. Walters to show with data to prove the reason why Boost is no longer viable. The district and whoever else plays a vital part in decision-making needs not to sit back and take the status quo approach to what's best for our students, because it's evident we, being the stakeholders, are being pushed out of any serious decision-making. I would advise you to go and visit these schools, Conroy, Pioneer, even if they're not in your district or your responsibility. It is your responsibility to be concerned of the well-being of all these students. Your budget needs to reflect individuals who receive special education services. Your budget needs to reflect educators who desire to teach students with exceptionality. If the general ed principals will start off with special education, then everyone else moving forward will reflect the genuine perspective of the student body. Yours, Ms. Paulette Foster. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Foster. And our next speaker is Ann Ferris.
Good evening. I am Ann Ferris, a resident of the North Side and a parent of a third grade student at Dilworth Traditional Academy. I'd like to first reiterate that the 2025 preliminary general fund budget does not include detail that's necessary to move it forward to adoption. Specifically, in the 2024 general fund budget, the number of classroom teachers, principals, counselors, social workers, and central office staff was clearly provided in the personnel resources allocations graph on pages 333 to 335. The 2025 budget lacks this critical information. Please post publicly an updated preliminary 2025 general fund budget that includes this information. It's alarming to see the proposed budget shows a drastic reduction in the number of ESL teachers from 51.5 to 23.5, and ESL instructional paraprofessionals from 16 to 0 with no explanation. The board must have this data before approving the budget, as it directly impacts the quality of education. It is unacceptable, I feel, to move forward with a suggestion to provide this information after the vote. Please also ensure there's clarity on what the $1.3 million allocated to the deputy superintendent will be used for, as there currently is no person in that position or department. In the finance meeting last week, Mr. Josephs gave an update that the 2024 budget surplus is now at $5.6 million, up from what's in the preliminary budget of $2.56 million. In 2023, PPS ended the fiscal year with a $3.3 million surplus with a projected $16 million deficit. The district also saw increased enrollment this year for the first time since 1997. The community wants to see PPS succeed through investment in schools and resources. Please examine these trends and work with the Chief Financial Officer and Superintendent to update the 2025 budget to reflect an eye toward increasing enrollment and ensuring programming and staff are guaranteed to support this. Stabilizing the district now will position our schools for success with responsible changes and reconfigurations in the future. And I wanted to thank Devin Taliaferro for asking questions about the 172 projected vacancies, accounting for approximately $17.4 million that is budgeted in the 2025 general fund budget. I'm requesting transparency on resources dedicated to staffing these positions. There's also an unexpected $5.2 million in state revenue now available to cover the $2.4 million cost to continue the Summer Boost program. Please do not eliminate that program and give families a chance to figure out what to replace that with the following year. Before moving forward with school closures and reconfigurations, please work toward other channels toward increasing revenue.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker this evening is Pam Harbin. And we'll keep moving. Our next speaker is Erica Gidley.
Hello, my name is Erica Gidley, and I am a parent and community member of Pittsburgh Public Schools. My oldest attends Arsenal K through 5, and I'm really excited that my youngest is going to be going to kindergarten there next year. Based on last year's actuals, PPS actually ended up with a surplus in 2024, which is great. Kudos to the district for ending the year strong when faced with such an alarming deficit at the beginning of budget planning last year. This shows me that PPS can handle these hard financial concerns. Because of this, I am not concerned about a possible deficit for 2025 because historically PPS has been able to close the budget gap. However, I am concerned about transparency. On page 16 of the 2025 preliminary general fund budget, it states the district is in the process of streamlining the district from 54 to 42 schools, ... The statement gives me pause. It shows that more decisions have been made beyond the 25 school year that are not being shared. It looks like PPS is utilizing doomsday projections to close schools that the communities very much want to remain open. We were able to find close to $32 million last year. I believe we can do it again without sacrificing communities and our child's education. There is still time to make decisions on our schools. Next, a quick plea not to cut Summer Boost. It's a program that's won awards, closed the learning gap, and was an answer to prayer for some parents figuring out the insanity, that is the cost, signups, and schedules of summer camp. It's not for the faint of heart. And then one last thing, why are we cutting, it looks like this is what it looks like. Why are we cutting 44 employees from the ESL budget? One of the consistently growing demographics at PPS looks like it's being met with a 36% decrease. There may be a reason for this that makes sense, but it's really hard to tell on the profit and loss statement that's being shown to the public. I am a bookkeeper, and my current job has me utilizing a chart of accounts built in 2000 and shows the hand of multiple boards and executive directors. It gets really muddy, and our budget is far less than PPS's. Generally, I think I would just encourage that there is something a little more streamlined for the public to see and kind of understand more of where the numbers are coming from. Just from my professional and non-professional opinion, it's easy to just let something go the same way for so many years. But I think it's something that could be looked at and explained better for the public. That is all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Emily Sawyer.
Good evening. I am going to go in a little different direction, as you all know that I like to do. I agree with all of the previous comments about transparency and making sure we're spending money in a way that folks can track and see. And I think making responsible choices with our local tax dollars also includes who we collect taxes from and when. So until last week, I had never met a LRTA that I didn't hate, but I thought the one from the Hill CDC was great. Lots of wins for very little money. I think that would be a great one to support. Unfortunately, I can't be as enthusiastic about the Manchester Chateau TRID. The URA admitted that it's public funding for a private project. I already pay taxes for public improvements like roads, bridges, and affordable housing, so why should we divert education dollars? And I know that it's a trade-off, but we're always asking the same people to take the brunt of those trade-offs. And what I'm saying is, I think we should ask for both. I think we should keep the money we have now and get all of that increased tax dollars. And I think that a developer or a corporation should be happy to give that to us because it's an investment in the community that they claim to care about. These are education dollars. I'm not so worried about my city and Allegheny County dollars getting diverted to roads and but these are education dollars. These are much needed dollars. We need to keep the dollars and get the dollars. So my suggestion, I'm going to be a little snarky, is that if this development company can't fund their project, that they should ask UPMC for a donation, or have a bake sale, or set up a GoFundMe, or they could even collect box tops. Because we need our dollar. We're standing here talking about cutting summer programs and closing schools, and y'all are not giving me a 75% tax break on my house so I can invest in future renovations to make it I brought 5 kids into the district. I didn't get a tax break. But we keep giving them to corporations over and over again and then being told there's not enough money, there's no money, we can't serve our kids. But it's on the backs of the people who live here. That corporation doesn't need a tax break from us, you guys. It really doesn't. And I know it's not a tax break, and it's a diversion, but our education dollars need to stay in education. I'm so sorry, they just do. I think we should ask for both. I don't think it has to be an either or. Stop asking the same people always to take the brunt of the trade-offs. It's not fair, it's not right. It's not. They should be happy to invest in our education system. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Before we close out, we want to ensure that all speakers had a chance to give their testimonies, so I will recall names. Lauren Stuberis, April Clasora, and Pam Harbin. That will end our testimonies for tonight. We thank all speakers for their testimony, and I will now turn this into the hands of Mr. Walker.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gandy, and thank you for everyone who came out tonight. We are in the middle of a very busy couple of weeks, and so we appreciate you taking time, and we will say goodnight and see you all on Wednesday. Have a good night and be safe, everyone.